Hey guys, welcome back to HRG TV. My name is Ben. Today we have the Big Bend Bronco Sport. This is a 2021. It is still brand new. My friends at the local Ford dealership, Mooresville Ford, thank you very much for working with me and lending me this car for the day to do a little bit more R&D. We use this for our lift kit video, but today we're actually going to look at the skid plates and specifically the differences between the Big Bend and Outerbanks models and the base model versus the Badlands and First Editions models, which have factory skid plates. Now, the skid plates, even on the Badlands one, don't cover the front bumper. They're just an under tray skid plate, so there's not really any protection for the plastic bumper, but they are different. The bumpers are different, so what we have to find out today is what specific differences there are, and if we can just bolt up the Badlands skid plate to the non-Badlands car. I think that we won't be able to. I have a feeling the bolt pattern might be the same, but I think the skid plate has to be made exclusively for the Big Bend and Outerbanks models. So that's what we're going to do today. And I wanted to also point out to you guys another crucial difference between the Big Bend Outerbanks and the Badlands Editions Bronco Sport, and that is that these ones have felt underneath. That's all the protection that these are given from the factory is a piece of felt. Now there's one on each side, but underneath that felt is an evap canister and a bunch of evap lines that go back to the gas tank. Now, not to be disrespectful to Ford or how they engineered this, but if you're going to take these things off-road, it is very vulnerable with nothing but a piece of felt protecting it. So I think what we're going to do is look at the possibility, hopefully, of making under tray skid plates for the protection of those components underneath the car. So that's the goal for today. Hopefully we'll get something done, get something figured out, because I only had this car for a couple of hours. Let's take a look, see what we can find. Okay guys, here you have the skid plate with air quotes, from the Big Bend. And this is literally nothing more than a piece of cardboard. Now I want you guys to look underneath the vehicle at what this cardboard is protecting. For those who don't know much about engines, this is the oil pan, and this is a stamped steel part. And if you get a rock, it could impale a hole into this and all the oil will run out and the engine will die. So it's very important to protect this. This is a vulnerable component underneath the engine. Transmission is right here. It's a little bit more resistant, let's say, to getting punctured, but it also needs to be protected. So there's literally a thin piece of cardboard protecting this entire assembly here. Not good. All right, here we have a Badlands skid plate, and that is leading us to our next question. Do the bolt holes line up, and will this skid plate just simply fit a non-Badlands Bronco Sport? I'm guessing no, but all we can do is put it up there and see where the holes land and if there is in fact a place for the bolts. Okay, unfortunately the answer is no. We have a hole, but there is no thread there. So this might be a riv nut situation where we can just clamp a nut in that hole, but for the back, there literally is no hole there other than a little screw hole that holds this clip in. So it might be a situation where something needs to be drilled and riv nuts installed to put this skid plate in on a non-Badlands unit. Oh boy, that presents a lot more of a challenge than I was hoping for, unfortunately. All right, we're gonna design the skid plate for the Big Bend Outerbanks models, and I'm going to go ahead and use the Badlands skid plates as a reference point. This is an early version. This one does not fit, so it doesn't matter if I modify it or if I lose this file, it's no big deal. I just mainly didn't want to have to redo those, and I didn't want to have to redo the dimensions top to bottom and left to right. Those are already set and it should fit just perfectly. I am going to make this a little different and this a little different, along with these holes will have to be relocated in order for this to work. In fact, what I'm going to do is this whole skid plate is going to join up with another skid plate that'll cover up the back underneath the engine, because as you know, this is just there to protect the bumper. And on the Big Bends and Outerbanks models, this whole area under the engine is completely exposed because it does not have a metal skid plate like the Badlands and just a piece of cardboard instead. So we're gonna make a two-piece for the Bronco Sport Big Bend and Outerbanks. All right, 2 hours later, we got our prototypes made up in the CAD program here, and we're gonna go ahead and cut them out and see if my math is any good, because I measured with tape measure and some dial calipers based on the piece of cardboard. I located all the holes with this, so hopefully that's good template. We'll find out here as soon as this gets done cutting. We're gonna match it up, see how much we need to change, but should be good to go. We'll see. Well, the test fit was a success. It looks perfect on there, and really, I honestly got lucky because the Ford dealership called and said they needed this thing back ASAP because there's a customer coming in. They might want to buy a Bronco Sport, and they need to have this one there for the customer to look at it. So the pressure was on to get that thing done perfectly the first time, and it fits great. I actually did test fit it on this car. Didn't have time to film because I was running around like crazy. I think there may be a few little tweaks we could do to make it a little better, but I'm gonna send one of these to a friend of mine who also has one of these vehicles, and he can test fit 100% sure to see if there are any changes that need to be made. But the holes line up, everything fits. I'm really happy with the result, and it only took me about 3 hours to make it. So that was pretty cool. But we're gonna go ahead and bring this Bronco Sport back to the Ford dealership right now so they can hopefully sell one to a customer. So I appreciate you guys hanging around and watching these videos, and I'll see you in the next one.